Valorant has been alive for 5 years already. Well, I say alive, but and if you've lived through these 5 years, you probably know about the now gone Chamber meta. Chamber was a must pick and heavily dominated the game unfairly, having a scout speed op as an ult. Yeah, I say scout. I play CS 1.6. It's no big deal really. He has an op with a fire rate of a marshal as his ult, while also having an instant TP all the way to the other site with one press. Or if you only started playing a bit recently, I'm pretty sure you've experienced the terror Neon has brought. Or you probably didn't know about Jett having a reloading Overwatch shotgun, or Raze having 2 nades before the game even launched, or Cypher Scam having hands to hold the pistol. Well, that's more of a bug, but knowing Riot, it's probably a feature. Now, if you put the current Chamber against the Chamber at its prime, there's a big difference in their capabilities. And that's exactly what I'm going to do, using my embarrassing achievement of playing the game since launch, showcasing the agents at their best. Starting off with our Animan American, Brimstone. Brimstone rarely gets significant patches and changes, and he has always stayed true to his core. A niche pick controller who has the longest and most smokes that are one-time executes, who also has a big post-plant potential. His best form in patch 4.04 episode 4 act 2 is not that far off with his current form, at least in the sense of his core identity. Other than improvements in the steam beacon, 2 charges for the same price but slightly slower gun equip, very minimal size decrease to his smokes, and ult points in the ult. Also, his molly can't break util. Nothing real special, but the gun equip and stim and no util damage for the molly are far overshadowed by 2 stims and 7 ult points. Next off, we have our Viper. Viper actually had a very significant change compared to her initial state, from being the worst agent in the game's launch to a rework so impactful that it made her almost a must pick in every map, although it didn't last very long. Though right now, she's pretty balanced, I'd say, being core picks in some maps with only her ass being OP. Okay. Oh my god, I'm so sorry. But at the time of her prime, in patch 2.06 episode 2 act 2, she was more of a sentinel than that version Cypher was. The broken thing about her was her toxin or decay mechanic dealing 50 HP instant decay. That's an instant no armor for 1.5 seconds after passing her gas. That's 1 less Vandal body shot for enemies with full armor, and that's 2 less body shots for enemies with light or no armor, which is the most broken function of her then. That made her walls and mid-round usable smoke, yes it wasn't permanent, super scary to pass through, holding the site better than a sentinel. Not to mention her wall and smoke had longer uptime, didn't drain faster even when both are up, and can be reactivated sooner when your fuel depleted. Her mollies provided an additional 9.5 seconds in total for post-plant, with it being 2 charges, and you can stay outside of her 7 ult points ult for almost double the time with 5 times faster regen time. The only downside really was 1 second more cooldown for smoke and wall, and the snake bite not damaging util, which is a crazy trade-off. She was an absolute different beast. So much so that this lasted only for a month until they made her initial decay 30 HP, which still retained her as one of the strongest controller then. Within that month, she was a staple pick. Not picking her would have just resulted to throwing, as she was miles above the other controllers then. Now our favorite, somehow cute, emo, less edgy Reaper, Omen. Omen was always the versatile all-around can go wrong controller. He has movement, can play for himself or flank, supports side defenses with delays, support attacks with probably the most broken blind in the game. He's the do-it-all agent. This has always been his identity, hence why he's still arguably the most picked agent competitively despite the significant nerfs he's got. But this wasn't the only case then. While Omen had a few changes, these changes basically reshifted his identity, or deleted his other one. While having a controllable and faster paranoia speed is nice, or an ult that can't press F but can still automatically pick up the spike or gun right below him, a minor trade-off, the key changes here are on his smokes. He was the only controller then that can basically one-way smoke almost every possible angle. His smoke stuck to walls, at least on certain maps, and also could be placed in very minuscule and niche geometries to create one-way. I love Omen as my sub-main. I mean, who doesn't? Just look at him, he's so cute. But I think this change was to be expected, as he was the only controller who could do that. Well, I guess except for Viper lining up or Smoke Orb. Even then, Omen still remains the top picked agent in the competitive scene. So what more if he was still able to do this? for our FBI agent, this might be a little controversial for those that played since launch. But bear with me for a second, okay? Hear me out. His best state is in episode 7, Act 3, where his strips slow for much longer, instantly reveals, and rearms twice as fast. His cam also didn't have this new sound and tracer thing. God, I hate that change. And his ult was only 6 points. Feels nothing too crazy, but trust me, that reveal change, 0.5 seconds, is a lot in a game like this. Overall, he still persisted his core gameplay despite the differences. Now, regarding the little controversial thing, I do have to honorably mention that in patch 1.04, his strips did not break even on death, which means his team could still use it even when he dies, which is a strong component that no other Sentinel could do. Well, aside from Sagewall, but come on, we're talking about the real Sentinels here. Although this was strong, the trade-off of having shorter trips, shorter slow, shorter activation, not having the ability to rearm, and on his other utils like the ult having only one reveal ping is a little too much. So, you know, it's just honorable, but not his best state. Oh yeah, his Raze can and almost every single time break his strips, and it was funny. Now on a more broken and very honorable state, on beta, his cage slows on contact. Slows, which means the moment that cage triggers a sound, that spam is almost certainly gonna guarantee a kill. And did I mention that this cage slowed on contact? So both entering and leaving slows you down. So no, you can't really escape the spam. You're basically dead. And another thing from beta, this is more of a feature bug, but to say it straight, this guy could use a pistol. Yeah, straight up. And let me tell you, that bug is not the only crazy bug that happened, because in patch 4.04, his tripwire in bind basically intentionally canceled the game and returns everyone to the lobby, and that was possible with only your decision. So you basically control the lobby. Oh, you were losing? Oops. Uh-oh. Lobby crash. Guess the game doesn't count now. Fortunately, a bug as ridiculous as that was hotfixed in 4 days. It was disabled a bit though before the fix came through, so only a select few experienced playing God in bind. Now for Mother Russia. Sova was an absolute beast on launch, and this went on until before episode 3 with some value changes. Him on launch had cheaper, longer, and tankier drone that also provided 3 pings, quicker windup, and again doesn't have this new sonar sound in the recent update. I fucking hate that change. His shock dart was able to reach 90 max damage on the center, which in my opinion felt just right considering the skill it takes to actually hit them, with the smaller center too. Also, the bug on playing a certain voice line when breaking enemy util with the shock dart actually felt like an intended feature and the right one, at least for me, for the longest time.
Trick shot.
But I guess it's just a bug. And his ult costed less. Now, what if I told you that Sova actually had movement? Movement that was far crazier than any other could do. Yep, that's right. In patch 3.01, a bug allowed him, no, anyone, to ride his arrow. Pause. This was such an interesting bug. I was only able to do it once because it only lasted a day, but still, it was so fun doing that. The old times. Next to the actual mommy of the team, Sage. Please try to add the skin in the game. Sage looks so badass in this. Her best form is actually in beta, but for the sake of consistency and standard definition of beta, we'll just honor it and only consider patches that are actually in the full finished launch game. So that would be in launch. Her wall feels worse in the long run, but better as a reactionary wall. The instant fortify and usable in buy phase is great, but the gradual deterioration and shorter duration makes it less convenient for long rounds unless you use it reactively, which then in a way makes it also good for long rounds too, because you can stop last second executes right ahead. On beta though, it has more HP, always casts the full 4 segments, and can be placed on small objects of the map. Slow orb was larger and cheaper but could just be dashed through, and on beta was longer, provides more slow, and walking enemies make noise. Her self-healing healed for 100 HP, making the whole Battle Sage playtype more viable, and was quicker to reuse in beta. Overall, even in her best state, I don't think her kit is enough to sacrifice other Sentinel's kits, though it is interesting to have her as a niche pick, or the e-girl Discord get an ooh healer pick for the Valorant community.
For every kill you get, I'll give you an ooh. Ooh.
For a British super fire tactic Joker, Phoenix. Oh my god, I'm so sorry. Who was once the worst agent in the game, to I guess he's pretty okay now competitively. He's much more enjoyable though, that's for sure. He's still pretty cracked in ranked with his completely unturnable flashes, well, until the recent patch, which made it the same windup with Yoru. 0.1 second change is still a change, especially in a game like this. That's basically 100 milliseconds more time to react, and if you've tried human benchmark, you'll know that that is already big. Yoru's flashes are decently reactable, and turning the previous Phoenix flash felt like 0.1 second is just what was needed. So I think that is actually a big change, which makes his best state the one before that. Anyway, that's his best form. That's it, just a 0.1 second faster flash, which is big, don't get me wrong, but his kit as a whole feels like it could use a little more work, I think. By the way, this shit probably took me the most time and effort to do, but let me tell ya, if you're new here, I'm like a mystery box channel. You never know what content you're gonna get, be it absolute dog shit or a million views Valorant video. Even though I don't want to be the Valorant rank cinematic guy, but I guess I'm just that guy now because I fall off hard outside of Valorant. But please, just check it out. You know, just a little peek, and maybe you'd go like, whoa, this guy's content is insane! Oh yeah, also my Twitch too, where I stream in a very unorthodox schedule. Thanks. Alright, our poster girl. Everyone's favorite, Jett. If you've been playing Valorant for a long time, you'd know how Jett was so powerful before. Crazy enough, she was actually regarded as the worst agent for the first few days since launch, because of how little her utility does for the team. But obviously, that was just because of the freshness of the game. Because as it turns out, Jett on launch was actually her best form. Looking at this, you'd feel like there isn't much, but 3 smokes that last almost double the time, 2 updrafts, Hailwind being a quick cast, meaning you don't need to charge it up first, you click it and boom, you dash, you're gone. So that's like 4 escapes with her dash and smokes, and that's not counting the replenished dashes from kills too. Now her ult, absolutely broken. Right click was tighter and replenishes on kill. That's like a 6 points, always accurate even if you're doing the most diabolical movement. Close to mid-range shotgun for an ult that's also a deagle with the speed of a knife out. If you watched Korean Jett back then, you'd know what I'm talking about. She's just straight up a beast. If we see this state of Jett return in the game, we might as well play Overwatch because that's what this is. This is a hero shooter character in a tech FPS game. I'd argue she has the most broken best state in the game. It was just a shame, or a blessing, that these were still early days and Valorant and its players were still stabilizing and learning. But oh man, I feel like the Jett players, especially the ones present since the earlier times, are crying while coming in their pants right now. Our Brazilian terrorist. I probably shouldn't say that. Raze. Raze was really powerful on launch. Her boombot lasted twice as long, was cheaper, tankier, and damages for 125 max. You with full HP and light armor? Gone. I mean, it damages Utils less, but come on, who the fuck uses boombots for Utils anyway? 2 of her blastbacks can insta-kill, and without needing to wait, by the way. Not to mention, it can't be destroyed by enemies, so they're just fucked. I mean, yeah, it damages allies too, but well, you know, it was kind of funny. And of course, the change that probably brings tears to Raze mates. The movement was faster. I know, it's so sad. Her nade was a bit larger in effect and significantly higher minimum damage, and it was much stronger in beta, in which she had 2 nades. 2 nades! Although they didn't replenish on 2 kills, but still, her ult was still 6 points and quicker, and also, maybe this is just me, but I swear her ult hits more consistently back then. Or maybe I'm coping, I don't know. But I swear to God I'm not crazy.
This geometry is what I'm talking about!
Or Swedish Armstrong. Get it? Armstrong is robot arm and yeah. Anyway, Breach. His best form is in patch 3.05 episode 3 act 2. Now, this might not be agreeable for everyone, but hear me out first, okay? Aftershock did so much higher damage to Util, meaning 9 ult points KJ ult, gone. 3 ticks for slightly lower damage makes it better for stalling, but worse for securing a kill because you need all 3 ticks to kill them with, although I don't know. 2.2 seconds windup is most of the time enough for you to get out if there's no setup. So I'll take the 3 ticks, thank you very much. Everything pretty much stayed the same except for the slightly faster windup for his stun's not affecting dashes, and his ult being 7 ult points. All things considered, it's pretty similar to his current form, just with significant value changes. That being said, higher util damage in Aftershock is such a big big change. Now, the reason I say it might be unagreeable is because the honorable mention patch 1.11, he had 3 flashes, which were faster and cheaper. That might be powerful, but all his other skills are really weakened in this patch. Weakened enough for me to feel like patch 3.05 is so much better, because he actually feels crucial to rounds with his util other than having to blind 3 times for fun and giving the enemy's lifetime hospitalistic seizure.
We are
Next, everyone's favorite agent on their alt account, Reyna. This is another controversial one because of the big change she went through in 8.11, but let's go over her best state in my opinion first, which is basically her current form before the recent patch of lessening her blind's HP. That's it. Now for the controversial part, well, it's not viewed because I didn't make a graphic for... fuck it. As I was writing the script, I might as well do the graphic for it because that's how I care about my viewers. Please subscribe. For her controversial one, she had twice the heal and more healing time, but the overheal only lasted for 30 seconds. The same thing with her ult, it only lasts 30 seconds. Her dismiss was slightly slower while being slightly longer. Now, hear me out for a second. You might see this and straight up disagree with me and think this might be the better one, but first, in most cases, 50 heal is enough. Statistically speaking, I'm gonna use my aerospace engineering degree here. Ending the fight at full HP diminishes the use of heal. The more you lose HP, the more the heal becomes important. Ending the fight with low HP for attack FPS game that can one-shot someone becomes a rare scenario as opposed to winning with full, slightly hurt, or straight up getting one shot. Not to mention 30 seconds duration for a 100-second round where executes can finish in a span of 10 seconds is a little lacking as opposed to having it for the rest of the round, and that also goes with our ultimate. These 2 points in my opinion are decent arguments, but my best cake is on the dismiss. For attack FPS game like Valorant, dismiss is much more important skill than heal. Having to go unpunished is stronger than having to reset your HP, in which you can still die in one shot. Oh, but it's just slightly slower. 3 meters per second speed difference is a big ass difference, and I'm sure you've experienced it. Before, you could usually chase Reyna while she's dismissing and kill her, but now, that's just almost impossible. She will get her escape and you will not like it, and I think that is much more important than whatever healing she gets. Now honorably, she did have 4 souls to use before for healing and dismiss with the old 100 HP healing and slower dismiss. However, she did have a slower blind here, which was basically almost useless. It had limited range and longer startup, and as much as 4 souls sounds good, you're not gonna use more than 2 most of the time, especially in team play. Maybe in clutches, I guess, but you also have to remember that her ult gives infinite souls, and it only has 6 points. So yeah, the 4 souls wasn't worth the trade-off in my opinion. Still interesting though. I rest my case. Next, the German tech support who have probably unintentionally seen more Rule 34 art off than Viper. Don't ask me how. Killjoy. Now, she is still pretty powerful even for now, and her best form actually also has some hiccups as drawback that I feel aren't enough to compensate her better values. Her best form was on her release, which had greater nanoswarm damage that unfortunately didn't affect utilities. Instant damage, all while being almost completely hidden. Her ult is essentially weaker in this with only 150 HP, and I guess very slightly longer pulse as if it matters. Her alarm bot and turret being infinite range, which means you can leave your setup to the other side and it will still function, is so powerful. Not to mention her turret has 70% slow. You can guard 2 sites at once. Technically, especially with that tankier and more slow turret. Oh yeah, also of course, the infamous 180 degrees turret moment that made Riot slit its eyes.
Do the unthinkable here.
Free my boy turret. It's our favorite Aussie's core, mate. I reckon she's still powerful currently, even if it's far from her best form, which was at the beginning of episode 3, where... Oh my god, I'm so sorry to all the Australians out there. Skye. While her heal was slightly more expensive, her Tiger, yes, it's a tiger, costed less and was tankier. But the best part was being able to look around while leaping and is still concussed when close enough to when destroyed. This allowed for maximum optimization of her tiger, for info gathering. Her blinding light... Her guiding light had quicker animation after casting, faster flash windup, and there was no function of longer flying equals longer flash, with all of this adding up to a crazy broken pop flash that's undodgeable, blinds longer, and faster gun equip. It's like the previous Phoenix flash, or maybe even faster, and the only way to counter it is to predict it and play an anti-flash. Did I mention that it regenerates in 40 seconds during the round, and it doesn't pop at the end of its duration, which was longer by the way, that allowed for cool fake plays like this. But hey, leave it to Riot to do what what we all are asking. Destroying skill plays and skill showcase. Leave it to them to make the game more uninteresting. Oh yeah, and her ult was tankier too. I do have to honorably mention again, in the same patch that Breach got 3 blinds, he also had 3 blinds. Although it had an animation for its activation, but still, can you imagine having 6 blinds only from 2 people? Yeah, probably not. I feel like I'm gonna have a seizure just remembering that patch.
Dude, holy fuck. Holy fuck! Dude!
Okay, now we're talking. My boy, the guy, the great, the GOAT, Yoru. The best agent in the game. Purely not because I'm a Yoru main, but coincidentally also the current meta. I just want to say that Yoru really has locked potential. And I want to see like an actual trickster Yoru in pro play one day. His best form is close to his current form, with a few hiccups on some part. And let me tell you, he had gone a long way to reach this.
And then there's Yoru. Doesn't have anything, and he just exists.
Oh brother, if you've seen his worst state, oh my god, you better. In probably my next video. Enough glazing. In 9.08, his decoy was cheaper, ult was longer, and costed 1 less point. Oh, and at some point you could revive KO in his ult or plant in your ult. The other interesting bugs, yes, bugs, because this happened way too frequent, which showcased the dedication and admiration that the Yoru community showed. The no ult animation. I actually also participated in discovering this. Let's go! From blinding or TPing before an ulting, using the ult in timing with ropes, an ulting in time with ropes to specific extreme conditions to just mitigate the ult animation. It was a fun time, going back and forth with the devs of discovering a new one and then them fixing it, and then discovering another one, and then them fixing that, and yet again another one, again them fixing that, and yet again another one, and them finally fixing all of that. Good times. I also want to mention that the core of his best state, not counting the decoy reaction changes, actually lasted for almost 3 years. And it's interesting that he just became the meta quite recently, without any significant changes. He's probably the best agent in the game, I'm not even kidding, but also the hardest to master. Okay, that's enough. I can feel him down my esophagus already. Oh boy, Astra. If you're new to the game, you probably didn't know how powerful she was back then. She wiped out every other controller in the game with her abilities. You might think that she's strong as fuck right now? Well, oh baby, you're about to see more. Probably one of the most broken states in the game. Wouldn't pass Jett though. But still, has to be like in top 5. Yep, that's right. She was an absolute must-pick agent beast back then. She still had 5 stars, but they start at 2 charges, which recovered at 8 seconds and winds up during buy phase. And although it had shorter range and a bit more expensive, it wasn't enough to compensate. And then the most broken thing about her back then, her 2 times faster wind up and bigger and longer gravitational pull, stun, and well, a little smaller smoke all had a very quick cooldown, and a simultaneous one for 2 of her smokes too. Like imagine her current form but with more than 3 times the cooldown speed. Her suck game was phenomenal. She can literally suck you twice during post plan, even tries in some complex situations. In game, okay, my god, you little shits. The drawbacks are being deafened in natural form, and her ult was just muffled and not a complete audio block. That's it. That's the only significant downside of her bullshit ass kit. She was really dominating the meta then, and it wasn't long until she got nerfed to give the other controllers, no, the other agents, a chance to be important. KO I think is actually the anti-power creep agent. Since the more powerful a new agent releases, the more significant and powerful KO will also be. His best form did bring in some powerful stuff. That being said, he isn't really shown much competitively and didn't really change much either, since he's a pretty straightforward classic counter agent. His nade did higher util damage, shutting down KJ's ult even when it's not in the center. 9 ult points by the way. His flashes were insane. Even with a slightly lower flash duration on left click, his right click dealt the same amount of duration, making it really powerful in duels. It didn't have this new quick bounce mechanic where it'll pop in 0.8 seconds when bounced off the wall with a left click, but that also means it didn't have that unique sound effect that's made it more obvious and reactable when bounced off a wall. His ultimate, while requiring lesser ult points, did have twice the duration to be revived, so it's a trade-off. But I still think his right-click flash blinding more and nade always securing a util off is a better state since it's more frequent. I have a feeling people won't agree to that and would think his current state is better, but I don't really care what you think. Okay, I'm sorry, I'm just joking. Please do not unsubscribe. Please do not dislike, please. Alright, almost everyone who plays the game knows this. And of course, the powerful chamber meta that ran for a whole fucking year. Within that year, he did receive some nerfs, but not enough to diminish the chamber meta and remove him from the absolute must-pick of every single map. Wanna see something interesting? Go to VLR, search up Valorant Champions Tour 2022, and look at every tournament. Then check the agent stat. I'm not even kidding, almost every single one of them had Chamber as the most picked. One of them even had him at 100%, which I think only he can achieve ever. No one can come close to him. And I mean that in a threatening way, by the way. That better not happen again, right? For legal reasons, that's just a joke. I'm sorry. Back then, if you don't have Chamber in your team, well, given that they're good with him, then you're absolutely trolling. Almost all the top leaderboard for VCT were Chamber players. He was just that good. I mean, just yay. That's it. That's all you need to hear. Despite running the game for a whole year, his best form is still in his release in episode 3 Act 3 before all the nerfs. He had 2 trademarks that slowed for a whole 9.5 seconds. Imagine that. 9.5 whole ass fucking seconds. His deagle bullets were a bit more accurate, I guess. Which is still crazy to me, by the way, that there's a first shot inaccuracy in attack FPS game. But oh well. And now, his TP. He still had 2 anchors of it that literally teleports you to the other side. Not to mention, it was pretty quick to recover with its low as fuck cooldown. That also triggers even when you destroy it, instead of being permanently gone. I mean, need I say more? It's like a Jett dash away on steroids. And you think that was busted? Oh, brother. Wait till you hear that he has a 7 points free op that shoots almost at the speed of a marshal. That drops a fucking slow when it kills. Like, holy shit, who thought that was a good idea? Being leg doesn't mean shit too, because it still kills you with leg shots. He was just on a different level during that time. Jett might have the best broken state in my opinion, but the scene was already growing during the Chambers era, and it was his era. He had the greatest effect in the competitive scene. He was John Valorant back then. Hey, Pinoy Pride! Neon! Yeah, I'm Filipino. Don't mind me. And as a Filipino, I apologize for what Neon has brought to Valorant. Neon was probably the most annoying best state in the game. I was not that indulged in the Neon meta, since that time was a very busy time in my graduating year. So yeah, no one cares, I'm sorry. But this meta was really built from her slide, with only 2 changes. So few, yet so abnormally significant. Because of course, it's really a good idea in a tactical FPS precise gunplay type of game to have an Apex slide agent with full accuracy. Like what the fuck? Who thought of that? Imagine your Apex sliding and every frame of that slide, you're actually counter-strafing in like flash speed. Why? What? How? How did I come out of the kitchen after cooking this burnt-ass changes? Oh, that seems like a nightmare. You know what? What if we just make it 2 charges? You know, it might be 2 weeks still. I don't know, man. That is like one hell of an idea from the balance department. I hope the people who thought of that are fired. Oh, I also hope they found a new job. Wouldn't want them to be unemployed like me. Oh, and faster stun windup. Also twice the duration for ult and less ult points. But we don't really care about that. We only care about the King Von slide. Alright, our goth mommy that somehow looks so bad in game. Fade. They didn't really change much, but I think these small changes will go on since we're reaching towards the newly released agents. Never mind. But her best form on release, episode 4 Act 3, had few significant changes on her cat. Yes, it's a cat, not a dog. Technically, there's still no dogs in the game, it being tankier, longer duration, and faster, and longer to blind. Also, her ult was only 7 ult points. That's it. That's the best state. Harbor! I don't have anything to say about this guy. I mean, his best state is his current form. He actually started from the bottom and now he's here. Get it? But no, I actually mean that. But of course, that bottom is for another video. So, you know, what do they say these days? Smash that subscribe button!
That's an awfully hot coffee pot.
Gekko. Gekko in his prime was actually kind of a somewhat staple pick. His core gameplay didn't change much, being the most all-around initiator, having blind and info to his kit, but the difference in the orb duration and claim windup of his abilities changes a lot already. His blind also lasted longer, which helps a bit in stalling. Also, the smaller concuss doesn't really change much in my opinion, it's just fair, and also lesser ult points. Overall doesn't really change much, but it was enough to make his abilities almost always reusable, which is actually still strong to be fair.
The rest of the team is sitting back. Nobody looking to try and steal it, trying to help him out. Angel's gonna take...
Another controversial one with our Norwegian volleyball killer. My god, these controversies, I'm not even at 15k yet, which I humbly appreciate, by the way. Thank you so much for that 15k subscribers. This is the one that I'm most unconfident about, so Deadlock mains, help me out a bit. Though I do think her current state is the best one, even though it's not really good even. She probably has it the worst in terms of getting love from Riot. She went from arguably the worst Sentinel to a decent one, but still a pretty niche pick. Now I will address the controversy. The free wall incident. Her best state is debatable with her 9% version, which was right before the rework. Her wall was her signature ability, and the GravNet costed 200 and was also a bit larger. The reason it's kinda debatable is because a lot of Deadlock players felt that her wall being free is much better than the current one. Now hear me out, okay? Wall being free? Pretty good, especially on pistol. However, this wall wasn't rechargeable. It's a one-time use wall, but it's free. On the overall scope of things, her rework was a net positive, retaining everything you had before in most rounds with an added rechargeable GravNet, with a downside to the size too. Sure, pistol and eco rounds needed some financial work, but I think a rechargeable multi-use GravNet, which basically prevents your enemies from moving, is a better kit. The wall helps, but for the most gun rounds, it will be gunned down quite easily, and there goes your free shit. I don't know, maybe it's really just me, but given the context of a master at work Deadlock player, the rechargeable GravNet feels much better for the team. But that's just a theory. Wait, it's not even a theory. It just straight up makes more sense.
I actually am a big fan of the Deadlock changes. I think this will actually make the character somewhat meta because the net is like on a 40-second cooldown. That's pretty strong in my opinion. Like really good. Deadlock is broken now? I agree.
The other emo, Sykkuno cosplayer, ISO. ISO had a pretty broken-ass best state despite being one of the new ones. Deadlock's changes can't even touch a sixth of ISO's changes. Yeah, sure, his vulnerable had 2 charges and costed less but didn't suppress, and his wall didn't have a slow cast, but fuck that. We're talking about his shield, which had a 20-second duration, gains a new charge with 2 kills and lesser slow. He could have a shield active, and what you didn't know is that he already killed 2 and have another one in backup. And you had to deal with this for 20 seconds. This state didn't even last long, as he was fucking up the rank streets during this phase. It was the first ever moment that Reyna got replaced as the rank pick. Everyone was playing ISO, because why not? You can avoid death almost every time, and when you think his shield is gone, here comes another charge. Boom. Get fucked. And you can't even stall it out. That's 20 fucking seconds, brother. That being said, his ult had a bug though that didn't trigger his double tap, which honestly I didn't know was a bug. Anyway, yeah, he was the first ever tank role in attack FPS game. Clove almost had no buffs since release, which is why it's their best state, which honestly wasn't really that much but still pretty significant. Pick Me Up costed less, and its speed boost lasted as long as the heal. The Decay nade had a fixed timer kinda like Phoenix's Molly, wherein it'll pop as soon as it arrives to the trigger time. This made lineups actually just impossible for this ability. Smoke had a faster cooldown, which is really important, and their ult required less points, more time to kill, and shorter on ult animation. It's not that far off in their current state, but those are still pretty significant changes.
That one had a little more flavor.
Vyse, which I know absolutely nothing about lore-wise, was probably the coolest woman in the game. Vyse didn't have that much of a change really. Most of her changes were minor bug fixes, and the only real change is the longer vines and wall. That's pretty much it. So she just got buffed from release and then adjusted a bit lower to make her balance, which I feel her best state isn't even that bad. But I guess a 10 seconds vine could maybe a bit too much.
Her Razor Vines can delay up to 20 seconds if not shot. Here, coming out of spawn just wasn't an option. Deadlock and Brimstone just said fuck it and forced their way through, but Vyse heard this. She popped her flash and completed her carry job for T1. Vyse is nuts.
here comes another terrorist, and an actual one that terrorized the whole competitive scene. The infamous G2's one trick. Tejo. Despite being the second latest agent release, Tejo had undergone a big change, mostly due to him dominating the esports scene as his kit was just too good to let go of. His stealth drone was cheaper, but his stun was more expensive, so those two are balanced out. But his key strength before was on his missiles. Because abilities don't kill, guys, remember.
It has precise gunplay.
Incoming nukes! Nukes dropping down! Wall! Pushing over the rocket with rocket launcher flying over! Insane splash grenade! Fucking laser beam from the sky!
His missiles before, although was only one charge and therefore free, it had 2 rockets instead of only 1, which in turn makes the 150 credits we have now a kind of a nerf too, because you get 2 for free back then. Those 2 rockets for 2 charges that we have now, that's in only 1 charge before, which I guess is a bit of a nerf because you needed to launch 2 at once instead of using them individually. But the key change here would be the 40 seconds cooldown being removed. Before, you could use your first missiles usually to delay or stop execute attempts, or to attempt execute if as an attacker, and then use your replenish second one for post plant or retake. Now you're stuck with only basically 1 charge that are separable individually, not to mention the range difference and the damage, especially to util. That 5 damage boost is enough to single-handedly destroy the, again, 9 ult points KJ ult. Oh yeah, and lesser ult points. But yeah, his competitive run just felt un-Valorant for me. The top plays felt like we're slithering into hero shooter territory. Lastly, the Thailandese, is that right? Waylay. Waylay released in a pretty mediocre way, so she just worked her way up to the top as her current best state, which are pretty much just the recent patch, so that's basically it, nothing else. And that's every agent in the game with their most broken states. Well, I say broken, but to be honest, most of them didn't really change that much. Most, which tells me that the game is pretty good at rebalancing things, right? Right? Yeah, maybe I'm giving too much credit, but at least there wasn't an agent that completely made the game miserable at one point, right?
Excusez-moi.
Okay, probably not. But jokes aside, it could have been worse, honestly. Everything is pretty balanced with like 3 or 5 agents having the most diabolical best forms. I'd say it's a decent job for the balancing team. Wow, and that's from Riot too. Great job. There's a lot of controversial ones here, so if you have other opinions, leave it in the comments. I'm still at 14k subscribers, so I will still read your comments. Don't worry. Also, huge thanks to Kango for making these patch update videos that made referencing a lot easier than it should have been, so drop him a follow. Also, I'm not a Valo YouTuber. Do not be mistaken. I just do some of their shit, but I'm not dedicated only to it, especially now that Valo's kinda dying for me. Speaking of shit, you might be thinking, what about the shittiest forms of every agent? Well, that's for another video. Okay, thanks, bye.